What would happen if you witnessed a UFO flying across the sky with your own eyes? Surely your story would become famous, with the media eagerly chasing after you. However, just a few days later, a group of men in black suits would show up at your doorstep, threatening you and demanding that you not reveal any more information about the incident. These are the Men in Black. Their appearance following UFO reports has raised many suspicions. Who are they? Why do they threaten eyewitnesses? What is the true purpose of these mysterious individuals? The journey to uncover all the secrets surrounding the Men in Black begins right now in today's video. Who are the Men in Black? In 1947, the world was shaken by the incident of a strange object crashing in Roswell. While most of the debate centered around whether it was truly an alien encounter, another special meeting had already been recorded on Maury Island, Washington State. The key witness in this case was this man, Harold Dahl, a boat operator working in the Puget Sound area. On June 21, 1947, he went on a routine patrol along the coast of Maury Island with his son and their dog. Suddenly, Dahl spotted 6 circular objects flying in the sky. They looked like donuts, with a round hole in the center. One of the 6 strange aircraft unexpectedly began ejecting something that looked like thousands of sheets of paper. But in reality, it was metal falling rapidly toward Dahl's boat due to Earth's gravity. There was no time to react. The boat sustained damage, Dahl's son was injured in the arm, and their dog was killed. Police quickly arrived at the scene and began investigating. The debris was collected and sent to a research institute for analysis. To their surprise, the materials were not of earthly origin. This seemed to confirm that what Dahl saw might not have been any human-made aircraft. We have a witness, a victim, and physical evidence, so why was this case forgotten? Was Roswell, 1947, somehow more credible than Harold Dahl's testimony? Just as the investigation into the 6 donut-shaped objects was beginning, an incident happened to Dahl. On the very next morning after the event, a man in a black suit, wearing a hat and dark sunglasses, driving a black car, appeared at the witness's home. He invited Dahl to breakfast at a local diner to further discuss the incident he had experienced. Throughout the conversation, the man seemed to know every detail about what happened on Maury Island, including what Dahl had seen and all the actions he had taken afterward. At first, the boat operator assumed this polite man was an FBI agent coming to investigate the case. However, shortly after, the man issued a stern warning, instructing Dahl not to speak further about the flying objects or what he had witnessed. He even threatened that revealing the truth would lead to serious consequences for both him and his family. His cold, authoritative voice created intense psychological pressure, forcing the Maury Island witness to agree to remain silent. After the conversation, Dahl left in a state of confusion and fear. In the days that followed, he constantly felt as if he were being watched everywhere, at all times. Overwhelmed by stress and deeply worried about his family's safety, he gradually withdrew from public discussions about the Maury Island incident. He eventually claimed that his story was a fabrication, putting an end to an event that has never been fully explained. Harold Dahl's encounter with the Men in Black remains one of the earliest recorded stories involving these mysterious figures. Although the truth behind it is still debated, the story made a significant contribution to UFO research history and paved the way for countless later discussions about the Men in Black. And indeed, just a few years later, another person came forward with his own account of an encounter with these strange men in black. Alongside Harold Dahl, Albert Bender was also a prominent figure in the history of UFO research. A man with a vivid imagination, he had been fascinated by supernatural, mysterious, and extraterrestrial topics since childhood. After World War II, he moved to Bridgeport, Connecticut, and devoted most of his time to researching and exploring the possibility of life beyond Earth. In 1952, Bender founded the International Flying Saucer Bureau, IFSB, an organization dedicated to active UFO enthusiasts. It quickly attracted hundreds of members from around the world, including many well-known names in the alien research community. Through the publication Space Review, Bender and the IFSB created a platform to share information, theories, and reports related to UFOs. Bold questions were raised, and theories accusing governments of covering up the truth about extraterrestrial life were also openly discussed in the magazine. Keep in mind that the 1950s were a politically and militarily sensitive era, especially with the backdrop of the Cold War. Public interest in UFOs and unexplained phenomena was growing rapidly, and many began to question whether strange beings were truly visiting Earth in flying saucers. Because of this, the IFSB and Space Review became important outlets for public discussion. Until one day, the head of the Bureau made a risky decision. Bender planned to reveal his new discoveries in a special issue of Space Review. He claimed that UFOs were not simply natural phenomena or secret human technology, but rather spacecraft operated by extraterrestrial beings. Moreover, he had identified the point of origin of these flying saucers, something that had previously been described by scientists as too dangerous to disclose. This revelation drew massive attention from both the public and UFO investigators. While the decision made Bender even more famous, it also marked the final highlight of his research career. As the scientist prepared to present his findings at an international conference, he began receiving strange phone calls and developed a growing sense of being watched. One evening, after returning home from a movie screening, Bender discovered 3 men standing at his doorstep. They had dark complexions, somewhat resembling people of Eastern descent, with broad shoulders and narrow waists. All 3 wore well-tailored black suits, white shirts, and black ties. Bender was warned that if he did not stop his UFO-related activities, he would face unimaginable consequences. According to the head of the IFSB, the men in black spoke with harsh, cold voices that filled him with fear. After issuing the threat, the 3 men turned and walked away. What caught Bender's attention was their rigid walking posture and the luxurious car they drove, one with a strange, unfamiliar logo. Following this frightening confrontation with the 3 mysterious men, Albert Bender was harassed for months. He experienced bizarre health symptoms including dizziness, severe headaches, nausea, and even temporary memory loss. At times, his home seemed to be filled with a foul, sulfur-like odor. The encounter with the men in black left a deep impact on both Bender's life and mental state. He no longer felt free to continue his research or share any further information about UFOs. Under pressure and fear, Bender decided to cease all activities related to the IFSB and published a cryptic message in the final issue of Space Review. The mystery of the flying saucers is no longer a mystery. Their origin is known, but any information about it is being withheld by order from a higher source. Those who are investigating or pursuing UFOs beware. From that point on, Albert Bender withdrew from the field of extraterrestrial research and no longer released any of his findings. It wasn't until 1962, nearly 10 years after the encounter, that Bender published his book, Flying Saucers and the 3 Men. In the book, he detailed the appearance and conversations he had with the men in black. The former researcher suspected that they were not human, but extraterrestrial beings who had come to Earth to monitor and prevent humans from uncovering the truth about UFOs. He believed the men in black possessed advanced mind control technologies and could instill fear in anyone they targeted. According to Bender, these mysterious men in black were part of a global network linked to secret powers and clandestine societies. He emphasized that he could not reveal everything he knew for the sake of his own safety. The book gained widespread attention but was also criticized for lacking concrete evidence. Many claimed that Bender's story was merely a product of imagination or psychological pressure he endured while running the IFSB. But no matter the controversy, Albert Bender's story remains one of the earliest and most influential accounts to introduce the concept of the Men in Black into popular culture. The accounts of the Man in Black by Harold Dahl and Albert Bender share many striking similarities. However, critics argue that these descriptions are still vague and not convincing enough. So, let's take a look at this photo. It shows a man in a neat black suit, wearing a fedora, and exuding an odd presence, as if he were watching someone. That someone was Jack Robinson, a passionate UFO researcher. Along with his wife Mary, Robinson spent years gathering information, analyzing documents, and sharing their findings through articles and lectures. During a particularly intense phase of their UFO research, the Robinsons began to notice strange occurrences happening around them. Jack felt he was being watched from a distance for several days. More disturbingly, their apartment was found ransacked, as if someone had gone through their research. That's when they noticed the mysterious man in a black suit, standing across the street from their home, staring up at their window. His constant presence deeply unnerved the couple, leaving them anxious and afraid for their safety. The photo we're looking at now is said to capture the very scene that Jack Robinson faced every single day. Some witnesses even claimed the man never interacted with anyone in the neighborhood. He didn't move or change posture for long periods of time. His pale face, vacant stare, cold expression, and unnaturally stiff movements were enough to give anyone the chills. The Robinsons' experiences, along with this photo, quickly spread through UFO communities, becoming one of the rare visual pieces of evidence claimed to support the existence of the Men in Black. Now, with 3 separate stories, across different points in time, all describing strikingly similar figures, we are left with one pressing question. Who exactly are these Men in Black? Why do they appear only to warn or intimidate UFO researchers and even eyewitnesses of extraterrestrial encounters? After years of speculation and analysis, 3 leading theories have emerged to explain the true identity of these mysterious figures. One of the most notable theories about the Men in Black is that they are actually government agents assigned to investigate and monitor activities related to UFOs. This theory stems from the consistent features described in reports about them. Witnesses often describe them as having a professional demeanor, using language in a cold, emotionless way, and showing no expression. These Men in Black frequently instruct scientists, researchers, and eyewitnesses not to disclose any information. They even issue threats, causing fear, and making people question their own memories. These characteristics suggest that the MIB might be connected to government or military organizations. Especially during the Cold War, when gathering and protecting sensitive information was a top priority, this idea gained more credibility. So, if the Men in Black are truly government personnel, what is their mission? They are believed to act as an information control unit, keeping knowledge about UFOs and extraterrestrial beings away from the public. In many cases, witnesses were warned not to go public with their experiences, supposedly to prevent mass panic caused by confusing or dangerous information. Additionally, the MIB are thought to be involved in retrieving evidence, such as alien objects, advanced technology, or photographs, ensuring that none of it gets leaked. This behavior supports the idea that they are trying to prevent discovery or interference by hostile forces. In this light, surveillance and intimidation become part of their duty, not motivated by malice, but by a need for security and secrecy. There is compelling testimony in support of this theory. Witnesses consistently describe similar-looking individuals appearing right after a UFO-related event, and shortly afterward, the incident is swept under the rug. This strongly suggests an organized effort. Their tactics, threats, confiscation of evidence, and pressuring witnesses align with what one might expect from classified operations. Still, this theory is highly controversial. Despite the numerous accounts and reports, there is no physical proof or official documentation confirming the Men in Black as covert agents. At one point, The Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, became the subject of many conspiracy theories. It was said that while the agency did not stop the press from covering UFOs, it actively suppressed information about alien-related research and potential national security threats. The United States Air Force was also suspected. An anonymous witness once claimed the USAF secretly collaborated with other organizations to investigate the Bermuda Triangle and various UFO phenomena. Of course, major American institutions have denied any involvement with these mysterious men in black. They insist that no official agents were ever sent to threaten or intimidate witnesses. Investigations into this theory have failed to produce conclusive results. All we can say with certainty is that mysterious individuals in black suits have shown up, monitored, and pressured those seeking the truth about extraterrestrial life. But who they truly are remains a mystery. Who are these men in black? And what kind of individuals or organizations are so sensitive to any investigation or disclosure regarding UFOs and alien beings? Before we move on to the next theory, let's put ourselves in the following scenario. Imagine that you've been assigned a top-secret mission, and absolute secrecy must be maintained. If the information were to be revealed, it could potentially change the entire world. But then, someone discovers your mission and intends to expose everything you've been investigating and researching. Given the mission's sensitive nature, you must ensure that the information they possess is forgotten or dismissed, and that they abandon their pursuit. So, what would you do? Eliminating them might seem like a safe option, but it also poses a significant risk to yourself. It would be far more secure to confront them directly, to persuade and make them feel pressured and anxious, discouraging them from continuing their investigation. And that's exactly the approach the men in black are believed to use on experts and UFO witnesses. If we think from this perspective, we might be able to understand the true identity of these mysterious men in black. They are, in fact, extraterrestrials trying to erase or deny all research efforts in order to conceal their own existence. Surely you haven't forgotten the descriptions provided by the witnesses of the MIB. In addition to their neat and professional appearance, many other characteristics seem not quite human. Some even claim they possessed extensive knowledge about unidentified flying objects, such as in the case of Harold Dahl. This theory gained public support when Albert Bender revealed his suspicions in 1962. By 1976, Dr. Herbert Hopkins had also become involved in a UFO investigation and offered viewpoints that supported this argument. In September of that year, the doctor conducted hypnosis and examined two men who were said to have seen a strange flying saucer in Norway. While in a trance, the witnesses recounted how they were struck by a blinding white light that caused them to lose consciousness and forget everything that had happened. Hopkins was greatly surprised by what he heard and believed that he was on the verge of making a breakthrough in his research on extraterrestrials. Then, one day, while the doctor was home alone, he received a phone call from someone claiming to be the vice president of the New Jersey UFO Research Organization. The caller asked if Hopkins could share details about the hypnosis session and the witnesses' accounts. The doctor agreed without hesitation, and the vice president directed him to a location where they could meet. The call ended, and Hopkins went out the back door, turned on the outside light, and saw a strange man walking up the private path to his house. It couldn't be the man who claimed to be the vice president, but who else could it be? As the stranger approached, Hopkins noticed more peculiarities about him. The man wore a perfectly pressed black suit, along with a matching Homburg hat. When he removed his hat, the man revealed a pale, hairless face, with no eyebrows whatsoever. The stranger then spoke to Dr. Hopkins in a strange voice, with perfect pronunciation. The two discussed the details of the UFO incident in Norway and what the hypnotist had gathered from the witnesses. As the conversation neared its end, the stranger switched to a threatening tone, demanding that Hopkins cease his research on the Norway case and destroy his files related to the incident. Still reeling from the shock, Hopkins noticed the man's voice slowing down, as if a tape recording were being played at half speed. Then, the man staggered out of the house, as if intoxicated, and disappeared into the darkness. Clearly, just a few minutes of conversation had left the man in black seemingly out of power, in stark contrast to his earlier professional, courteous appearance. Hopkins was so terrified by this experience that his wife and children found him sitting with a gun in his hand. He realized that what he had just encountered was a men in black. His story immediately gained widespread attention, further strengthening the theory that MIB were extraterrestrials. Not only did this theory gain support from Hopkins, but John Keel, another UFO researcher, also agreed with it. In his most famous work, The Mothman Prophecies, John did not view the men in black as government agents. Instead, he described them as strange, non-human entities. They were reported to have an abnormal appearance, with smooth, waxy, greenish skin and unnatural movements. John Keel noted that MIB were most often seen driving black Cadillacs until he started writing about the subject. These cars often had license plates that had never been issued to anyone and would never appear twice at the same surveillance location. He further speculated that UFOs, men in black, ghosts, and all mysterious phenomena were somehow related to a force from another dimension. In other words, MIB did not come from another planet in the universe, but had always been on Earth, alongside humanity, secretly erasing suspicions about secret projects. It must be emphasized that John Keel, through the Mothman Prophecies, provided a unique and chilling perspective on the men in black. Rather than just being government agents, MIB were portrayed as supernatural or extraterrestrial entities. These stories and theories only deepened the world's curiosity about the true identity of the mysterious man in the black suit. People began to realize that the man in black was so strange. It seemed like he came from a completely different planet or dimension, as John Keel had argued. Most reports about MIB described them as men, all wearing black suits, hats, or glasses. Dr. Hopkins stated that they looked like a funeral director. These mysterious figures often appeared to be foreign, but no one could pinpoint which country they were from. Some MIB had tanned or dark skin, with almond-shaped eyes like those of Southeast Asians. Their voices also had a foreign tone, but it was very difficult to pinpoint which country they came from. Many people reported that their speech was oddly precise, as though they learned English from a dictionary. Could these strange men in black actually be spies, sent by someone to control information about top-secret topics like UFOs? It seems that many occurrences go beyond the capabilities of regular human espionage. While many believe that MIB are extraterrestrial beings trying to erase UFO-related information, there are opposing views. Numerous witness accounts of men in black, though detailed, rely on witness testimonies, which weakens the extraterrestrial theory. The timing of these famous stories coincided with a period when the media was exploding with UFO information. The appearance of these mysterious men in black only made more UFO incidents seem more mysterious. At the same time, MIB became known as an urban legend. However, these two theories have not convinced everyone. Those who do not care about UFOs, extraterrestrials, or world organizations will view the men in black as nothing more than embellishments by witnesses. Thus, the third theory emerged, one that was more scientific, based on the knowledge that humans already possess. Instead of simply viewing the men in black as figures from the government or extraterrestrial origin, experts have raised the question: can what we know about them be explained through psychological concepts and human behavior? It is easy to see that stories about the mysterious man in black appeared frequently during the 60s and 70s of the 20th century, a time when extraterrestrials were a hot topic. This phenomenon quickly spread among groups of people interested in and researching UFOs. According to the theory of crowd psychology, elements that provoke anxiety and mystery tend to spread quickly within a community. The fear of invasion and collective mood control, which is easily influenced, could be a major source of the MIB legend. Those who claim to have encountered the MIB often provide similar details, such as the black attire, unnatural behavior, and a cold, threatening voice. This phenomenon could be explained by the Mandela effect, where collective memory reconstructs consistent details based on what has been previously heard or seen. Moreover, the men in black are believed to have formed based on humans' unconscious fears. The black attire, cold faces, and strange behaviors can be seen as symbols of mystery and invisible power. These characteristics evoke a sense of unease, especially in situations where people feel powerless or threatened by larger forces. The unconscious mind is also the source of many spiritual and mysterious symbols. According to psychologists, the terrifying image of the man in the suit is created when humans face anxious or dangerous situations. In this context, the MIB may appear as a symbol of threat. Psychology also introduces the concept of the shadow to describe the darker aspects of the unconscious mind. The men in black, with their threatening and enigmatic traits, perfectly fit this role. They instill fear and trigger the unconscious fears of humans. Another important part of psychological studies on the man in black is the analysis of hallucinations and false memories. These phenomena can occur in stressful psychological states or when there is external environmental influence. Most witnesses and UFO enthusiasts experience shocking events, even haunting memories of them. This suggests that these psychological states play a significant role in creating such experiences. Combined with it, the information about the MIB from books, films, or the stories of others can greatly influence how people interpret unusual events. For example, if someone has heard of the MIB before, they may shape their memory to fit that description when they experience a mysterious event. Most notably, the rise of media and journalism has been a factor in amplifying the fear and mystery surrounding the men in black. These polite men became a cultural phenomenon, something that many people would mention whenever a UFO incident was made public. This is because it has a strong connection with conspiracy theories about extraterrestrials. Psychology shows that humans tend to seek out stories to explain the unexplainable, and the MIB perfectly fits this need. Thus, from a psychological perspective, these figures can be understood not only as supernatural phenomena or conspiracies, but also as symbols reflecting human fears, expectations, and contradictions. Research in this field helps us understand better how individual and collective psychology plays a role in forming and maintaining legends like the Men in Black. The Men in Black movie series has transformed the story of the mysterious men in black suits into something humorous and full of science fiction. However, in reality, the accounts and descriptions of them continue to stir public attention, leaving researchers puzzled. Whether they are government agents, disguised extraterrestrials, or simply products of collective imagination, the MIB have made a deep imprint on popular culture and in the minds of conspiracy theorists. Do these strange individuals really exist? Or are they simply a ghost of a conspiracy theory? The answer may never emerge, and the debates will continue. Nevertheless, they will always be a part of the conspiracy theories worth discussing, alongside UFO events on Earth. So, if you happen to see strange lights in the night sky, don't be surprised if you hear a knock on your door in the following nights.